This is technically episode 3. We're recording them and slowly editing them down and then releasing them into the wild. And I'm really stoked for this one. We snuck this one in kind of last minute while our buddy Liam here is in town. And he is a producer, music producer by the name of Push Pull out of Asheville. We've known each other on a I'd say friendly basis for about 9 years now. I think we met in a Alston basement.
Yep.
It's like a Bass Nectar after party or Sound Tribe after party or something. And I think, what was the name of the project that you were in at that time?
It was Paralyzed.
Paralyzed,
yes. Friend Sheridan Willard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, both y'all have gone on to make music individually and solo, but definitely one of those projects that when I discovered in Boston, I was like, oh, cool. There are like people making interesting and forward-thinking music in Boston. Not like, you know what I mean? It always seems like until you start meeting the people, it always seems like it's somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know, but Boston's interesting. I feel like you guys were probably part of the first year of you. Did you go to Berkeley or no?
No, we were at Northeastern.
You were at Northeastern. That's
and
how
we
you
were
met
also
Evan.
on the same. We were in the same program of like 25 people or less, and we were also on the same like floor of our dorm room,
right.
and we just like connected on that. He's a insanely talented sound designer and producer.
Yeah, I remember that all that stuff being notable at the time.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure. He can maybe correct me, but I'm pretty sure he's working on like sound design for games and like did some stuff on Call of Duty and
Sweet.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He designed all of the bullets sounds. Any sound that sounds like someone dying, it was him.
He's really, really good at death
Helicopter
sounds.
Explosions, murder.
Yeah. The crazy part is he does it all with his mouth.
It's all
insane.
beatbox.
Yeah.
There's a lot of compression, just EQing. That's funny. Well, yeah. So I mean, that was back in the day. That was a long time ago. A lot's gone down, obviously, since between now and then. And I feel like there's been a few little swells for you as far as touring and having released music. And I think that happens to everybody that cares a lot about their releases and the quality of their music, because life is that, and life's a constant up and down sine wave. Hopefully a sine wave for everybody, not too many triangle waves or square waves. And I think it's only natural to have breaks and have those tides come in and tides come out with your content and with your life. Like,
that was really what it was, like life just kind of forced it upon me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like a couple years I had some health issues I had to sort out, and thankfully I feel like I've done that. And just also like finding my place and like going to different parts of the country and getting different lessons from different places. And I kind of hit this point where like it was kind of just like forced reset. And I'm glad that it happened, because I wouldn't have maybe branched out into so many other things and developed other parts of my like skill set and myself, or met other people, or but it also forced me. Well, it didn't force me, but it kind of like spurred me to go back to Asheville, and that's been a just really, really positive place for me. Super supportive and awesome.
Yeah, Asheville's amazing.
Yeah.
Anytime I've ever spent there was just like instant friends and family with everybody. I was like, everybody's really just down with whatever you got going on.
Yeah, it's a comfortable place.
It is.
People are not trying to pretend to be too much more than they are,
Right.
And everybody's nice because it's so small. You can't be mean.
It exists in a vacuum too.
Oh yeah, it's a bubble. Yeah, you drive 30 minutes in any direction, you're like, oh.
And a lot of liberal like towns and cities are like that, where it's like a bubble and people don't leave, and like they're just like stuck in that. But what I mean, and you know what I mean, it's just like in a vacuum space of the Deep South, which is just like
up.
So you get there and you're like, oh, like you can breathe. Like it's okay. We might smell like weed a little bit. Like it's all right.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I don't. I know you wouldn't ever. God-fearing young man. But I mean, that leads me to one of my questions. I mean, like, how is it, like the Asheville music scene? It seems like you guys are doing some big shows, and it seems like just like a lot of places in the country, sound systems are becoming more of a prerequisite for the shows, and like, you know, and an engineer that can run it. And, you know, I'm seeing more and more names that are our friends and, you know, selling out and packing venues. And how is, like, what's the update? What's the humidity level? What's the altitude right now?
It's moist.
It's moist. It's pretty much always wet and lush in that area.
It's lush. People don't like the word moist.
Yeah, no,
moist.
Lush is perfect.
Yeah.
Lush is perfect. Moist is a great word. And anybody who doesn't like it needs to do some soul searching.
Moist.
But, yeah, exactly. We're going to give it to you a few more times in the episode. We'll get to some different sound design.
Yeah, I'll bring it back.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. That's like the theme of the whole kind of podcast. But yeah. What's the 411 on the AVL music scene? I know it's all very much like intertwined with Atlanta as far as like tours go, and a lot of the promoters and things like that. But
so there's a lot. There's like Harmonia is they're like a harm reduction company run by Megan Coral and Alexia Locklear, and they do a lot of shows. And everybody's kind of cross-pollinated, and you know, it's small. Everyone knows each other, and does a pretty good job of supporting each other, and you know, making the whole thing work. But it's really like, you know, it's us doing it for ourselves, and we're really lucky. We get shows that no other city our size gets. It's like ridiculous to watch these tours bounce around to major markets, and then Asheville.
Yeah,
but it's like
it's because Asheville's cool.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of very cool artists that that choose to live there because of the quality of life.
It's a magnet.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Envisioned Arts South, those guys are amazing.
Yep, killing it these last few years.
Oh, dude, lineups on point.
And just becoming more and more dialed and professional, and trimming the fat, and just, you know, doing stuff out here, doing stuff all over the place.
Yeah, working really hard, making it happen.
And you just joined up with Hassan.
Yeah.
Is he part of that group anymore?
Envisioned Arts South, I think is like a kind of under the umbrella of Envisioned Arts, but they have
and that's his
pretty
project.
high degree
Initially,
of autonomy.
That was like him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's your booking agent now.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good dude. Shout out.
Big up Hassan.
We know he's going to be listening.
Yeah. I'm going to send it to him.
Yeah. No, you should. I mean, he's awesome.
He's got his ear to the streets.
I would love to, and when he hears it, I would love to have him on here too, because the war stories that guy's got to share, and also just like the insight, you know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm doing this at all, is because we're a lot of our friends at this. I'm 32, about to be, I don't even fucking remember, honestly.
Don't tell
32,
anyone.
I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. 31, 32.
Just turned 19.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I just graduated. And you know, there's just insights from making so many dumb mistakes over the years, and also making the right choices and realizing it was a dumb choice, but it worked out. But same with Hassan, like, he's been doing it for so long, and he's seen so many artists come and go, and like, what will help, I think, anybody is just hearing like the roadmap, you know, of like, you don't need to go down that road, or go down this road. Maybe.
Learning from others' mistakes is
it's very, very, very valuable and important.
Yeah.
And, I don't think I would be anywhere near the person I am, or doing any of the things I am, if it wasn't for people like you and other homies, like, doing things and experimenting, and just watching how all the producers I've known for the last 10 years have tried things and done different things, and what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you kind of learn by trial by fire, and then if you're smart, you can pick up and not have to go through the fire from those around you.
Or it's not as harsh.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you get a wet blanket from a homie. We learned that if you put this wet blanket over you when the fires are bad. Yeah.
Or just don't go into the area where the fire is.
So, I mean, in Asheville, I've heard like some things, rumorings of new venues and new sound systems. I know that there's a really nice, I've played on a really nice sound system. Was it Soundcraft, or was it, I forget who was it. It was Bowie's sound system. That was,
yeah. Yeah, he's got a good one.
Yeah.
Also got to mention Lou Rawls, just like fantastic engineer. Guy is amazing.
Yeah, I should link up with him too.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to be doing this sound system engineer tour where I just podcast these guys.
Yeah,
so
he's
I'll
a
get
wizard.
that info from you. Yeah,
big time
That's
wizard.
what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Wizards. Sweet. Sweet. So
But-
what was his name again? One more time.
Lou Rawls.
Lou Rawls.
Yeah.
And he is an sound system engineer or audio engineer that just happens to hop around.
Honestly, it's hard to say, but I mean, he owns like a really nice Stanley rig, and I don't know how he would describe himself, but he definitely knows his shit.
Yeah.
And it's some of the most fun I've ever had playing on a system.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just fucking
I love Danley.
shakes your core.
The guys that have
Yeah.
Danley, know about like a layer deeper.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like dads who wear New Balances. Oh, you have New Balances for a reason, don't you? Yeah, well, check this out. Yeah.
Big New Balance clout.
Yeah. I'm not comparing them to like a generic shoe. I'm just saying like Danleys go the distance.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Always go the distance.
But it's also, I mean, like the speakers are, half, maybe less. It's like the engineer.
Right.
And yeah,
Yep.
I was playing on a system, and I was like, I know how to gain stage a mixer pretty well, and like do this whole thing. And then he just comes up and he's just like, no, undoes everything at mine, and all of a sudden it was just like,
yeah,
crazy.
it's gain staging is imperative.
Yeah.
Especially if you're coming out of a laptop into a DJ or like into a sound card into a DJM 900 and then into their sound system.
Yeah.
Like
He had it was like
It just means
it was
he
an
cares.
analog board, so you could actually clip it and it sounds good.
yeah, wants that.
And I was like, oh.
What a lot of people don't know is I was telling you this at the show the other night, the black box, the DJM 900 Nexus 2, the newest one. It will give you 2 red lights at the top above the 4 yellows before the actual clip light turns on. And most venues also have like a 6 to 10 decibel headroom on that.
Yeah.
So you never want to redline the master. Don't even touch that during your set. If anything, look at who the guy before, make sure it sounds good in the room, look at who the guy before was, where they were at, and then the levels 1 through 4, you can go into the red a little bit on those, and no one's gonna get hurt. And it's, if anything, it's actually up sending enough electricity to the system.
Yeah.
You lose orders of magnitude every single one of those bars.
Totally.
If you got one yellow going,
Yeah.
like the whole crowd's just kind of bobbing their head.
Yeah, it's like
You know,
logarithmic.
you can feel it. Like, and then for every one of those bars, it's just like, whoa, that much more electricity. But yeah, so, I mean, and what, you guys play a lot of shows at the Orange Peel. Is that one of the spots, or is that still a thing anymore? I know there was a sound system there for a bit, wasn't there? Or no?
Yeah, they just got a new rig. I think
Yeah.
it's the D&B, but not. I don't know if they're listening. They don't really allow too many locals to play on their stuff. You got to kind of go elsewhere and get big, and then they'll accept you.
Mm-hmm.
It's AC Entertainment. So
Makes sense. It makes them feel good.
Yeah, I got to shout out the music hall because everyone over there that works there is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And that's the AVL Music Hall. Yeah.
Yeah. Asheville Music Hall. Just fantastic people that work there. And so, yeah, and then there's a bunch of other little venues and spaces that are, not quite venues technically all the time, that you can use sometimes, and that's a bit more underground. But yeah, those are pretty intriguing now.
And they'll bring sound systems into the Asheville Music Hall and dial it in and
Yeah.
just get everybody going up. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Is that where Space Geisha just played?
Yep.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I definitely want to get down there and check it out. It's been 6-7 years since Gratify 1 and 2, I think, since then, something like that. And we were talking about this yesterday, like, so legendary,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every new festival has its follies and its weak spots, but as far as like the culture that it brought and the exposure it gave, and I mean, people like Mark, who's shooting this, and a handful of others, some of my best friends now are people that I met randomly at that festival, and people that I've stayed in touch with. Some of my favorite people in the Southeast were there. John Mark, if he listens, of course, David Krantz and all the homies, Ryan and Edwin that threw that thing together,
and
Kimber, and she's killing it now. She's working with Papadocio and just crushing the world, and tour managing. Shout outs.
Big shout out.
Yeah, we have a shout out counter.
You have to drink every time we shout out.
Exactly.
Name drop.
Yeah, no, I mean, but that's what this is about. Is it's there. We know so many people that don't get any credit or not anywhere near as much as they deserve.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of why any of us do any of it in the first place, is just, you know, to share something and for people to know it came from you, and you know that you're being able to communicate a message of some sort in your behavior, or your art that you're creating, or whatever.
I think you hit it on the head with like, you know, bringing people together, and like that's what it is. And you know, Connection was the same thing.
Yep.
And there's, you know, bunches of others that have all been kind of generated from within the same loose, you know, group of people. And but it's all kind of from the same impetus of wanting to create something for ourselves, you know, and for each other, and like what a festival is, or even music. And the more you know, refined and like narrowed down it gets, the more of a filter it is, so that you get into that space of whatever music it is, and you already know that you're, you know, very much in common with everyone else there.
Right.
And then, like, you know, just the magic that can happen is just exponential multipliers kind of thing. And
it can shave years off of a relationship you need to build with somebody, because you're just like, oh yeah, you know about any of this? All right, cool. Like, we don't have no small talk necessary.
Yep.
You know,
that was, I mean, I met Hassan at one of those, and like he was doing artist check-in. I just like walked up, and forget exactly how it came up, but you know, I said something. I was like looking around. I was like, yeah, high density awesomeness, HDA ratios, you know, like
through the roof.
And from like that moment, we're like, yeah, okay,
high levels.
Yeah.
and now it's all been boiled down to Solasta.
Yeah.
Which is that region's small boutique sound system oriented event, and that's Sound System Cultures, correct?
Yeah, they do the sound.
Yep.
And
that's
and Lou.
Hassan, and okay.
Lou
cool.
does
so
the beach stage with the Danley.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's just best of the best in your
that's
area, as far as like the people who genuinely care about what it is that they're doing, and it's about that getting people out. I don't like to throw around the word unity too much, but like that's the word that's always been used when it's been in reference to sound system culture, is, you know, sound system is unity. And the whole point of that, and it's not to sound cliche, but it's just that when the sound system's bumping, everybody's the same thing,
everybody's literally on the same wavelength.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's just a continuation of all of that. And and it's the same thing with a fire pit and people playing hand drums and chanting. It's all the same thing.
Yep.
You know, it's all rooted in that same desire to
commune.
Commune is the word. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's the word. And I feel like "un" is part of that same word. You know,
communify.
I mean? Yeah, exactly. Community. You know, community. Yeah, it's crazy. And but I think it's a beautiful thing. It's super important, especially in places like the Southeast, where, you know, I'm sure you guys have to find a spot that's real far out there in order to have sound all night.
There's not many.
Yeah.
On the East Coast in general.
You're
been
rattling
built up for so
crosses
long.
Off of the walls of people's houses, and they're calling the sheriff every 12 minutes.
Yeah,
we've seen it happen.
Yeah,
folks. We've seen it happen.
Yeah, I mean, we stand on a lot of shoulders, like, for real. And you know, like, it's been a long process to get here, and it's really just kind of, you know, bubbled up out of that same desire that everybody's had. And you know, for Solasta, we've been lucky enough to, you know, we've gone through some trials. Last year was pretty harrowing. It looked bleak for a second, but we ended up landing at Deerfields, which is probably my favorite venue maybe in the world, definitely on the East Coast for sure. It's just like a pristine, you know, priceless property, totally self-contained.
And it's far enough away from people where it's not bothering anybody.
Yeah.
Because that's the last thing anybody wants, is to bother anyone. That's the opposite of the whole point we were just talking about. It's like, we're not trying to annoy you.
Yeah.
We're trying to do our thing in our way.
Yep.
And you get to go to your church, and no one tells you not to. Like,
yeah.
That's just what we're trying to do.
Sunday morning pancake brunch church.
Yeah, shots. Yeah, it's important. I think it's really important. And obviously, we all know there are festivals that are literally just machines at this point, and it's like a whole mechanism to put artists in front of hundreds of thousands of high kids, you know.
Yeah.
But then there's also events that are like, This is a little different. Like
Yeah.
everybody's cooking together. There's like even like I remember my favorite part about Gratify was that property and how they had that communal kitchen
Yeah.
for all the staff.
Yeah.
And just like that vibe and just getting to know everybody through that area and that space was so special.
Yeah. Food,
And
fire pits,
yeah,
sound systems.
that's what.
They're all
yeah,
kind
they're
of
all
the same thing.
It's that circle up.
That's
vibe.
what everybody wants, period. Like,
That's everything.
so many people get twisted looking for other stuff, but
Right.
it's really like
it's just connection.
yeah, we all just want a connection.
Yeah. And we're so convinced that we don't need it,
Yeah.
or we're so convinced that we're getting it
Yeah.
through like fast food,
Hyper
not
normal
actual
stimuli.
like fast food, but like the fast food of like
Yeah.
the way we get things. You know?
I got so many likes. All these
Yeah,
people
exactly.
really
Yeah.
love me.
Totally. Yeah, and part of that stuff is real. Those people
Yeah.
are real that are like him, some of them, you know. But like, you know, there's really nothing better than cooking food on a fire with people, or just like, you know what I mean, just eating with people outside and that sort of shit, and
Yeah.
and then looking around and seeing that there's like, you know, there's 2,000 people around and
Yeah.
they're all pretty much got the same needs, and like, you know,
Yeah.
it's interesting. You know?
And you can go and talk to any one of them, and it's, you know,
Yeah.
the odds of it being a great interaction are
And that's
way
not just
higher.
like hippie festival world. Like I think a lot of us maybe have experienced that a lot or more so than other festivals, but I've been to festivals of all types, all
Mhm.
varieties of music, and that's all anybody's looking for.
Yeah.
That's why festivals exist. That's why
Yeah.
parties exist.
Yeah.
That's why libations and any of it exists. It's just to blow off some steam and connect with people in a non-work
Yeah.
environment, and let your mind be a little distracted for a little bit.
Yeah.
And, you know,
It's
or
like a
have an altered state experience in a safe container
Totally.
with other people that have had those
yeah.
same experiences.
It's like a celebration kind of thing. And,
Absolutely.
you know, it's I kind of, you know, it's like it can go both ways, where you know, it starts to kind of, you know, you celebrate too much
Right.
and you're not actually doing any work
Mhm.
of like, you know, things that are worthy of celebration.
Mhm.
So it can kind of become a little bit masturbatory or
Yeah.
like self
Hedonism is a thing,
hedonistic.
and which is absolutely fine. Also, some people
Yeah.
do that work during the week,
yeah.
and then all they want to do is,
Yep.
you know, go walk around half naked and do whatever the fuck they want. And I'm all for it. Do whatever
Hell
you want.
yeah.
It's a safe space for that. Like,
Yep.
absolutely, sure.
Yeah. Just
You
treat
know?
others well.
Yeah, and just don't
That's it.
expect any special
Yeah.
treatment and vice versa, and you know, it is what it is. You know? I think, and that's what was so awesome about all the Southeast events that I've ever been to, is you can just tell that people appreciate it so much because
Yeah.
it's so rare in the
Totally.
Southeast to just
Yeah.
be that liberal with your
Yeah.
behavior, and just like, you know, I'm all for just people blowing off steam and decompressing and having a couple days even to settle into it. Be like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what life might actually supposed to be like.
Yeah.
Like, maybe work isn't like 40-hour a week work week or 80-hour a week work week. Some people do.
Yeah.
You know, maybe that's not what my purpose is. And I'm not saying, you know, start wearing fabric pants and like live out of a bus, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
Down by the river.
yeah, it's important to go
Yeah.
camp out with your friends and your family and your community for a couple nights
Yeah.
once a month.
You can
or
shift
whatever.
values and have peak experiences and do things that,
Yeah.
you know, like are very affirming. And I think that in and of itself is extremely valuable and worth celebrating. And, you know, like the more that we can do that, and, you know, like I guess kind of part of the reason why I find myself drawn to do this crazy thing, like try to throw a festival,
Mhm.
is, you know, because I want to have those experiences with
Yeah.
people. And I
And enable other people too.
yeah, and I don't really like the idea of a reality where that doesn't exist. And so like with Solasta, it's kind of, you know, we're threading this needle where we're not a corporate festival. We don't have advertising. We don't sell alcohol, all these things. Like it's, you know, very much, you know, pulling ourselves up by
Yeah.
our bootstraps.
As grassroots as it gets.
Yeah, and we're also trying to value all these other things that are absolutely non-monetary. And so like fitting the whole structure of all these things that are super valuable and important and necessary, but do not produce monetary value into capitalism and making it work as a business.
Yeah.
Is, you know, it's like
Exhausting.
threading a very fine
exhausting.
needle. Yeah, it's like, yeah, also going from being like an artist only to the back end of production. Respect for
Yeah.
everybody that's
bit
in production.
disenchanting.
You have to love it because it's hard.
Yeah.
It's grueling work and like
long hours, underappreciated, underpaid.
Yeah, hug your local promoter.
Yeah, well, it's the builders and the engineers and the LDs and the VJs. Like they get there 4, 6, 8 hours, sometimes days and weeks before. Yeah, exactly. And live on the property, it's in order to transform it into what it is. And a lot of these people do multiple roles, and that's their passion. That's what they feel like they can share. Yeah. And having an event like what you guys have in the Southeast, it's so rare. Not every region has a genuine show and tell like platform for the community like that, like you guys do. Every region has them, but whether they're genuine or not and whether they're truly a pure representation of that local community is totally up to debate, and it's kind of on case by case. I feel like Lostin, June Jam, Fractal Fest, those are all 3 that I can name that are very pure in intention and very small. They're 1,500 people, 2,000 cap, high quality sound systems, no major headliners really. It's a lot of international people that you would never see anywhere else, or smaller acts that are just getting a bigger name, and you get to see them with 500,000 people on a dance floor. Yeah. And that's super rare. And I think those are for me personally so much more enjoyable than massive. Like,
Yeah,
you don't get to
like, especially when it's like a 1-stage event, or maybe like a 2-stage, but they're different genres. It's like no FOMO. Yeah, you don't have to worry about losing your friends. You don't have to worry about logistics. Mm-hmm. You're gonna see them again because they're gonna be at the thing. Yeah, and the thing probably in the same awesome
spot too.
Yeah,
if it's one stage.
Yeah, and so you get this whole like extra layer of freedom, and like we've all anybody who's listening to this has probably been to a pretty big festival at least once, and so
it could be alienating.
Yeah, and you're like constantly like on your cell phone, like, hey, where are you? Like, you terrified to lose your people because you'll never see them again, and like, then you're like doing all these crazy cat herding maneuvers to try and like mobilize everyone
keep
and
everybody together.
Go over here and do this, and it just gets tiring and like kind of takes away from the free flow of things. And so yeah, the small ones are really like super potent, and I think that there's a kind of like a filtration process where my first festival was Bonnaroo. Yeah. And I've gradually gotten smaller and smaller because that's where my interests have taken me. And some percentage of the people will go to Bonnaroo and they'll be like, not for me. That's fine. Right. But then some percentage are like, wow, that was great, but also I hate walking 5 miles to every stage and sweating at 8 a.m. on an air mattress, and so like finding things that are more niche and more like refined, and less of a hassle. Right.
It's not like factory farming festival.
Yeah.
It's more like I said, like some of these things are mechanisms.
Totally. Yeah. They're just straight businesses.
Like through this fence to this area, past all these
cattle
vendors.
Shoot. Yep.
Mr. Porter Potty, like, it's definitely, you start to see it in a lot of these bigger EDM festivals. And it's like, holy shit. Like, they're factory farming fans. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's hard if you want to do anything at that size. You have to implement certain things like that. Just managing people of
2,000 people or more.
Exactly. Oh yeah, you need security if you have like 500 people.
Yeah, at least a couple people that are willing,
and a medic, and water, and
100%,
everything.
100%.
Like it's so irresponsible not to. But at at those big ones, it's pretty. You start to see like the monetary influence and the profit motive come through a little bit, and like there are big ones like Dulab, like,
of course
they're a great example of a bigger festival that like really values other things than just producing profit. For
they balance it well.
It's
they definitely have a budget. But you also go there. I've been to a couple of Lightning Bottles, and there isn't a cigarette butt on the ground. Yeah. It's wild.
Totally.
And everybody that's there, it echoes like the amount of effort they put into a 20,000 person event. Yeah. Some of them are even bigger, is obvious everywhere you look. So people don't want to like mess that up.
Absolutely.
And you're in California too. So people are a little more conscientious and like afraid to get shit about doing
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Well, I think it does come from, like where the intention of the event's coming from, because it's all inherent in the way that everything is enacted. And so like if there is like a an intention to really respect the land, and you like from our point of view you have to have that. That's the only way we're going to be at Deerfields.
Yeah.
But like, that kind of permeates out, and we had the same thing, and like that's why we were allowed to come back, and they enjoyed us being there, is because it's it's just like, hey, level with people, like this is not your right. This is a privilege to do this.
All
and
of it, any of
so
it.
treat it with respect and you care, and then you can enjoy it forever. But if you like, if it's just like, if people feel like they're being treated as a consumer, they're disposable, they're going to dispose of things.
Yep. And they're just going to
physically.
consume the experience.
Yeah.
Act doesn't play what they want them to play. They're going to be on Facebook like, didn't play the music I wanted to play. You know what I mean? Whereas at something like Solasta or June Jam or Fractalfest, you don't say anything. You let that artist play what they want to play, and you're grateful that you got to experience that. And you're also grateful that your friend got an opportunity to be on stage, because most of the time all these people with these smaller events.
And with all those events, like a lot of energy is put into the curation, so it's very likely that it's going to be great.
Oh yeah.
It's
very, and the best thing is about these events is like, even if you know half the lineup, the other half isn't going to be trash at all. It's going to be stuff you haven't heard of yet that you should hear of.
Yeah.
And that's well curated.
Yeah.
And
that's a big part too. Like I think people, they like what they like and they like what they know, but there's so much music out there, like in the world now. It's all available, and there's so much. It's such a renaissance of like insane talent bubbling up from everywhere, and like styles are birthed every day, and just like fractalizing out, and it's just like we all get caught in our bubbles of what we know and we like, and there's a lot of opportunity there to be shown something that you didn't necessarily even know you liked. And that's like with Solasta, it's like one musical thing happening at a time, and so you really are kind of forced into that, and we put a lot of effort into really curating what is gonna like some of those things. Well, like everybody has what they like, but then also throwing in some stuff that people might not have heard of that's really good.
Synonymous, but not anything like it.
Yeah.
I feel like y'all did that with like Leon Switch a couple years back.
Oh yeah, he's a legend.
He's a legend.
Yeah, we brought him through twice because we love him.
He's so awesome.
Yeah.
And now, like, I don't know if you just saw the announcement the other day, they're doing a Noton 3-day takeover, or 3-hour takeover for the 9 year at the Black Box, and that's Leon Switch, Quizma, and Kelly Dean's label.
Yeah.
And their project together, Noton. And those guys are incredible. That neuro dubstep sound, it's super synonymous with the neuro glitch hop stuff, so it's perfect. And it's sound system candy. And it's slower. It's more trancey, I feel like, and it's it's a little more accessible for people that may not have been exposed to a lot of the UK dubstep. But Leon Switch, legendary, obviously, Cryptic Minds and other projects. He's been around forever, and he's awesome. We've released a mixtape with him, and
nice,
good people.
Yeah, he did our Solasta mix series.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I remember listening to that.
So fire.
And acts like that. I'm sure you guys have some Easter eggs and gems picked out for this year. And people you're shooting for, but I'm stoked. I've yet to make it out. I've definitely talked to the team about coming out this year, and I'm gonna keep harassing everybody. I definitely want to try and do it and do the thing, because I miss everybody down there, and it gives me time to come and hang out for a week or two. And
it's a good excuse to get people together.
Yeah,
it's like there's a lot of these outside. People. Yeah, I don't see nearly as much as I'd want to, and it's like. It's a lot of work, and everybody's working hard, and it's busy, and yada yada. But like, you still get to spend time with these people that you just never really get to spend time with, and create something awesome. Yeah. Just, like, create something worth celebrating and enjoying with each other.
Yeah, I think it's super important.
Yeah,
and they're rare. I mean, 10 years of doing Lost in Sound, we've worked with countless festivals, 50, 60, 70 plus like, different festivals. Like I remember one year we did, a few years in a row, we did 30 plus that we were just like writing about randomly, had different photographers and different people going.
Yeah.
And not many stood the test of time, I'll tell you that much. And that's okay. They often
there's a lifespan.
Transmutate into other things. And also the type of brain and intentions you have to get into it in the first place.
You got to be a little crazy.
Got to be a little crazy.
But
gotta
also
be
very organized
with
about
the
your
music.
crazy.
Yeah. And for it to stand the test of time, you got to be very organized,
Yeah.
you know, and not expect it to be a lucrative thing.
Yeah.
It has to be a big picture platform that's being created for one reason or another. These smaller boutique events.
Totally. Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up compromising a lot of
your
ethics that you started on, and it turns into like the same thing over and over again, which a lot of events have.
Yeah.
You know, they're just chasing that one year they did well.
Yeah.
And riding that out. You know?
Yeah. I mean, also got to shout out the Tipper and Friends events. Those are very well put on events.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like super, you know, very much in line with our ethos and, you know, like same deal. No real like, you know, just concentrated on the value and the quality and
just proper.
Yeah, super
that's
proper.
the word.
Yeah,
you know, it's like taking the time to attention to details. You know, Veller is very and Dave are both just, you know, detail oriented people. And it shows from and you know how you do one thing's how you do everything. So. Even if they are slackers at home, who knows? As far as anybody can, you know, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. And knowing both of them, I'm sure they're very meticulous and very orderly people. But, you know, like how the world sees you is how they treat you too.
Yeah.
You know, and they treat everyone very professionally and very matter of fact. And that echoes into all their projects.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why their fan base doesn't question. They're like, oh, we're going to be a Jam, cool, we'll be there for the day. You're going to be where? Invasion? Cool. 2,000 of us, sure.
Guess we're going to Azora.
Yeah, for the day. We'll be in Costa Rica for a day. In and out, tip and dip. You know how I am.
Yeah.
My tipper. It's either him or nobody. But I'm about it. I mean, I've been talking about this with a lot of people lately. Like, there are bands that have impressed on people much less intelligible information that like large swaths of like the 19 to 25-year-old age group have followed around for one reason or another, you know? And I feel like if it's Tipper, that's like people's first taste of a big community of musical movement type, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe your first psychedelic experience or whatever and sound system experience.
Yeah.
You're good. Like that's a great place to start.
Yeah.
You know,
and like
a lot of us started with like Slayer remixed by Bass Nectar at Camp Bisco. Like, oh, well, I'm into Slayer and I just ended up here. This is cool. You know, that's a lot of people. And then they got into Bass Nectar for a while and then they moved to Colorado and got into Tipper. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I super respect the you know, the like nondescript, just like this is what it is. It's about the music. It's about, you know, like the quality and
no merch, no brand.
Yeah, it's like
that's they have the anti-brand.
It's the perfect
big dollar and
it's
anti-brand.
the perfect brand.
Big money and anti-brand. Oh, anti-branding, yes.
Big dollar, yeah.
Yes, I know what you're thinking. Yeah. Shout out Bill Hicks.
Yes.
Legend.
Yep.
But yeah, so let's loop back. There's two things I want to touch base on. Mainly, I mean, after hearing your set the other night, how much of that was new music and how much of it was older stuff?
I'd say about 60% was new.
Sweet. It's not that I didn't notice a difference in quality, but I didn't notice like a difference in too much of a deviation of like style and sound and your own like breathe in, breathe out. Like
I've tried making a bunch of different things and like, you know, gone on tangents of like following trends of stuff, and I, you know, it just didn't quite work. Like I never, you know, make something that's, you know, half cool, but it just never really did it for me. And so I've kind of settled on I'm just going to make what I'm going to make, and it'll take care of itself from there. And I think, like if it makes me stoked, it'll make a certain amount of other people stoked. And, and, I kind of have to choose that because that's all I'm capable of doing, I think. So, yeah, it's like, always try to push the envelope and like keep experimenting and trying new things. But I think it's going to, it's going to sound like me. And yeah, there's certain, I'm pretty consistent in my tastes, and, it's like always really affirming when you hear a track you haven't heard, but you're like, I like this. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, that's I love that artist. Yeah.
Yep.
So, there's something like that where I'm like, okay, I'll, just settled on, not trying to like chase certain trends or anything, and just, I'm going to do the only thing I can do really. And I think that I've gone the other way where it's like, like when my creativity kind of died when I started trying to make music for other people and really considering like, okay, like, I need to make this the most popular track I've ever made. Like, what's hot right now
for the industry?
Yeah, and like it was like
music's always for other people, I guess. But I think you mean for the industry
as like a calculated product of like there's always some
people can do that.
I'm not good at it,
but it is disingenuous.
Well, I'm just I would do it if I was good at it. I can't do it.
Nah, I don't want to say it's disingenuous, but it might feel disingenuous to you to release something that isn't your own voice.
Yeah.
Whereas some people are masters of impressions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I always try, I've started a lot of tracks where I'm like, I'm going to make a track like so-and-so.
Yeah.
And by the first 30 minutes, it's like, well, okay, I went over here now. This is going to be what this is. And that's kind of nice, but it's just like the only choice I have.
If you were to, if you were to tell me that your music project was from Australia and that you moved here and I didn't know you, I would probably believe that. Just because it has that Aussie.
That's high praise because I love so much music out of Australia.
Of course.
Yeah.
It reminds me of all just the old enigmatic stuff. And
I love
but
that
also
stuff.
Like old Opio when he was still doing very psychedelic and experimental stuff. And I actually had a couple of homies be like, this reminds me of good Opio at the show the other day. So
I love his music.
Yeah, I mean, dude's a legend.
I did
still producing bangers.
I did a remix project a long time ago. It was a contest.
Yeah, I remember.
With Mr. Bill, and there was 2 other winners, and like, it was of Robo Booty.
Yep.
Yeah, that was me and Sheridan. Like, that was a cool experience. It was like really fun to look into his stems and see.
I remember Opio playing Wonder Bar.
Oh yeah,
I opened for him at Wonder Bar.
Wonder Bar.
Yeah, and like that was just trippy to see. Like,
yeah. Yeah, my first show ever was with Sheridan as Paralyzed at Harper's Ferry in Boston. We opened for Benga. We didn't have a sound card. We plugged in the aux cord sometime between sound check and the show. That aux cord got broken. And so we had some horrible noises right in the middle of our set. It was pretty scary. But we did it, worked, people had a great time.
Yeah.
I think the show was sold out. It's like, whoa, that was crazy. What just
bang.
happened?
That's so loud.
Like,
Boston's so
don't
infamous
freak out.
for that.
Don't freak out.
Like random headliner acts playing in a 90-person room on like a mediocre sound system. Hey, let's do it.
Yeah.
Get the kids drunk, send them home.
They're already in Austin.
That city's built for that.
Oh,
Just like bumpers between your dorm room, your first class, and wherever you can get alcohol. They just bounce you back and forth. But yeah, so I guess what I was saying is that you've been you've taken some time to sort things out and find your pace with music, but it didn't sound like you did, which is often hard for a lot of producers. If they come back to things that they were doing in an old project, a lot of times you listen to any of the artists like Schwex, Mamushu, Sixes, any of those guys that came out around that same time, Future, all amazing.
Yeah.
All of them making very different music than they were 10 years ago or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Still cutting edge.
Yeah, it
And
still
was
sounds
them
like
too.
them, but it's
It's
like
them doing it.
evolved.
Yeah. And I feel like yours does too, but it still sounds like push,
That's
push
kind
pull.
of like what I was saying. I just like have certain tastes that I really like, and I like a certain balance of elements, and like I've tried doing other things, and it's just kind of like always end up making like I just same things. I've been dabbling in like other tempos and other styles and stuff, but it always kind of still has the same general balance of elements, and that's what I like.
I like it.
Yeah.
And I mean, you played a few of the tracks. What's the relationship with Empire Strikes Brass? What's the deal? You guys have like an album together, don't you?
Yeah,
we
have an album's worth of tracks, but we just decided to cut it down to an EP and then like trickle out the rest of it. Yeah, just because that's there's one thing I've learned having to deal with my health stuff, and then just like kind of getting back on the horse, and it's like, oh wow, like momentum is so important. Same with Solasta, like coming at it from the back end and seeing everything like that. It's like, okay, I see why certain things happen, and how the thing, everything moves. And yeah, momentum is huge. And so especially with the algorithms the way they are now, and like we have to feed the almighty algorithm.
Praise.
Yeah.
Thank you, algorithm.
Please be kind to this video. Share us.
Thank you, algorithm.
Yes. But yeah.
We have an animal and a virgin. We're gonna, after this is over.
Yeah.
Thank you, Zuckerberg. Thank you, Zuckerberg.
But yeah, we're like that's just kind of how it is, and the way that everything is consumed in social media and media in general. It's just like there's so much out there.
You gotta leave the breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Yeah.
Always.
And it's just, and it's like if you're not heard from in a while, like it's just like
there's 1,000 other new kids.
Exactly.
They're all, yeah, what's up?
And they're all really good.
I have Push in my name.
Yeah, there's a couple other pushes out there.
Yeah. See?
Most of them are pretty dope.
Yeah, they're all good. That's so good. But it's true. I mean, you got to stockpile the goods. And, especially if you're doing stuff with people like Empire Strikes Brass and you've got big projects like that.
Yeah.
Good to keep some cards up your sleeve for those days where you got to be like, yo, ho, still got this one. You don't forget about me.
Yeah. That was honestly like I totally bit off more than I could chew, overestimated what I was capable of, and I was like, great, all right, cool, do a whole album, awesome, no problem. I'll 6 months. Like, wait, okay, no, like 10 plus tracks, like how many horn parts? Like, oh, like 10 to 20 different
would take
tracks. Yeah, and then like timing, pitching, mixing, and then the creative part starts.
Right. After
all of that, and then it's like, okay, it was a pretty giant undertaking, and I didn't see it coming. I've not done anything that big or that kind of like
engineered.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot, and I went to college for engineering and music and technology, and so I put a lot of that to use. I'm super glad I did that for that reason, because it allows me to do that. But still, like, that was, it took me way, way longer. It's really embarrassing. And part of the problem too is I was like, we started it, and then like my health kind of spiraled, and then like I was working every single day on it, but not really like accomplishing much.
At your best self.
Yeah, and I was like, so like if you have brain fog, you don't even know you have brain fog, but you just, because you have to recognize it with your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, just kind of like banging my head against the wall for a long time on a lot of things, and you can scroll for way too long on these project files. It's really embarrassing.
Yeah.
But it's like I thankfully kind of crawled out of that, got myself sorted out, and like learned a lot along the way about how I function. And just like since I've been feeling better, it was like, okay, great, like I can tackle this. And so now it's like done. We're gonna release it probably at or slightly after this comes out. But yeah, I got that, and then I also have a a solo EP,
Sweet.
just of OG, my own stuff, all original stuff.
Just a timestamp where you're at.
I want to come back and be like, hey, here's an original statement, because I've been quiet for a while, and I've done a couple remixes for like Papadosio and Few Texture, and those were super good.
Quiet is a lot better than mediocrity, and taking the time away
Yeah,
is much better and wiser strategically
yeah,
than like, I'm just gonna keep making music through all this fog.
yeah,
and then you get foggy fans, and then you get stuck making foggy music.
Yeah,
forever.
Yeah,
that can happen.
Thankfully,
we've seen that happen.
I wasn't fogged enough to realize.
But you know what I mean.
To think that what I was making at that time was like good enough to put out.
Right, but some guys don't have anybody around them to be like, don't like, or like they're not self-critical enough.
Yeah,
or they're just so high all the time. They're just like, yep, sick. I made it. So must be good.
Yeah,
let's get it out there. It's just like, and and everybody's on their payroll, so no one's telling them along the line, like, this is mediocre, dude. You need to sleep.
Shout out sleep,
salad.
Shout out list, drink.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to sleep and self-care.
Yes. Yeah. Number one, if you're not taken care of, you can't be that creative. You can be as like a job and a task. But that zone that you're trying to get to, where the great gems come from, it's real hard to get to that spot if you're hungry or tired or desperate or chemically depressed or just any severe chemical stuff. It can make it really hard to get to that place.
Yeah.
And
so many people romanticize the suffering artist thing, and like I used to do that too. I was like, no, I'm just gonna like fucking
I don't
binge
need groceries.
I don't need to eat. I don't need to pee. I don't just like grind it out or like
that's called dissociation.
Yeah, or like just like being like super like sad and like having like a really fucked up life and like being.
It's good though. That's what makes my art good.
Yeah, I'm like, no, that's actually the opposite for me.
You're
and
telling yourself
the more
that.
Excited and in a good place I am, the better what comes out of me is.
Because you can choose to make something that's themed after that experience. But if you're just constantly making stuff from that place, you're not choosing much.
And it's a quick burnout too. You might get a short high, but it's not as sustainable. And like that was, it was like, now, having kind of sorted myself out, I was like, okay, I know that what's good for me and bad for me generally for longevity and like to, basically like keep my performance and equilibrium high, and to just be like good to myself. Cause I think that's underrated, like a lot of people are workaholics and like, it's just, it's like, constantly go, do everything, like, do it all to the max and like just burn yourself out. But like that's a self-defeating, way to go. So, it's also hard to have discipline on the other side of that spectrum where it's like entrepreneurship is like, you're doing it. It's any art is entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship is like whatever happens, it's your fault.
Yeah, and it's hard not to feel like you're failing if you have an empty refrigerator. When in all reality, it's like you might just not be a good salesperson, and you're really good at art.
Yeah.
In which case, take some night classes. Like line up with some people that are good salesmen and surround yourself by them. Don't make them do it for you.
Yeah.
Like maybe have them help you and like, get the wing around you and get out there.
Pointers are great.
But pointers are great, and learn from their mistakes. Listen to podcasts that are about people who market their own work in whatever medium you do.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do with these is like share the little maps, like I said earlier, of people that have had success or trials and tribulations along the way, and how to recognize those signals and think about it before you make that decision, because you want to impress somebody or want to impress your producer friends with your new track. It's like maybe just show it to them like in a link instead of putting it on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's our underlying theme with all this is just trying to help out the homies that are just getting into this world or have been doing it for a long time that might not be surrounded by as many like-minded folks as we get to be, and I'm very grateful for that.
Same.
And we get to learn a lot from those people, and the best way to be able to share that, I feel like, is just talking about it and just getting abstract with it all, and then letting people come up with their own decisions on how they want to use that information. That's how I listen to podcasts.
Same.
I'm not like, I'm just going to do exactly what Joe Rogan tells me to, and then I'm going to be fit. I'm going to have tats up to my neck. Everybody's going to like me.
Hold on. I brought the elk meat, but I'm gonna pretend I didn't.
Exactly.
And, we won't talk about MMA
Alchemist
or anything. Yeah. Thank you, Bropra, for everything you've done.
Yeah. Exactly. But it's the little bits that you pick up along the way when you're not quite fully paying attention that you're like, oh, that's what they were talking about. Like when they said, you don't need to do that. Or whatever. Or you should.
Yeah.
Make sure you sleep. What was it you said? Sleep, daily planner, and water. Yeah, I mean, those are my 3 too.
Yeah,
it's like that's where all my anxiety comes from. All of it. If I'm underslept, underwatered or fed, or I'm spinning too many obligations in my head and I haven't written them down.
Yeah.
The second you put them on a piece of paper, you're like, huh. Everything I have to do for everyone can be lit on fire or like crumpled up and thrown in the trash, and it's no longer spinning in your brain using hard RAM,
Yeah,
it's
just causing low level anxiety.
Yeah, and it's that physical tension that you get from like, oh, I cannot, like, especially I'm a stoner, so like I can't forget that XYZ.
Wait, what was I not supposed to forget?
And my brain's doing that constantly. Like you've let everyone down today, But if I start my day with, I'll have a little toke or whatever, drink some water and some tea and have a breakfast, and then I'll write down everything that's an obligation to someone else, or other people or other projects or whatever.
Yeah.
And just try and work as many of them off in the day as I can.
Yeah.
Some people need it to be down to the hour and the minute, which I totally understand. I mean, my friend Josh Weinberg, Tahabra, he's actually coming out with wigs for our next Lost and Sound event in February on the 20th. And he scheduled his day down to the minute in Google Calendar, and he's an educator and Berkeley student, a drummer.
Yeah.
Time is like his thing.
Yeah. See, I can't do that because I'm not efficient enough at my scheduling thing. So that, like, I end up getting late because I'm busy trying to like read my schedule. And I
put about 3 hours into my schedule, and then I'm late for everything.
It sucks. What a catch.
For him, it's a rhythm thing that he gets into every day, every week, and that way he can take 3-hour naps.
Yeah.
And like never actually sleep. And like, I mean, man, I don't say he's a genius. He's a freak of nature. Absolute freak of nature.
Yeah.
Coding, developing VSTs, and
crazy.
He's a drummer that their project's really cool, really experimental. But yeah, man, I feel like that's a pretty good place to wrap things up. I feel like this was a really good and wholesome little session here, and I'm glad that we could make it happen.
Moist.
Oh yeah, we had to throw one more. Moist.
Bring it back.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
If anybody doesn't like that word,
this is not for you.
There's therapy out there that you can seek.
Probably go elsewhere.
Definitely. Yeah. This is going to continue this podcast series is just going to keep getting more and more moist. So from here on out.
He means lush.
Yeah, lush.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you making the time to come through and sit down with us or sit down with me rather, and these cameras, and Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thanks, Mark, as always, for coming. He's been making the production side of things happening and shooting and editing for us. He's an absolute sweetie pie, easy on the eyes, and does amazing work.
Very talented.
Mark Styles, massive shouts to that dude. And to anybody listening, share these, comment when you see them live. We sit in the chat room on Twitch and on Facebook in the comment thread when we broadcast them, and I'll try and sync up with Liam so that he can do that as well, so we can just kind of AMA at the same time about anything we're talking about, drop links in about stuff we're talking about.
Totally.
Make it a thing. Cool. Yeah. Well, signing off, and safe travels back to Asheville. And
thank you.
Anytime, obviously, we want to get you back out here. And anytime you're in town, we'll try and do this.
Denver's pretty cool.
It is cool, man.
Yeah.
It's definitely cool. Asheville's very awesome too. So, and it's not, these days it's pretty easy to get back and forth. So,
yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Well, signing off. Appreciate everybody for tuning in.